All right, it's your girl Crystal D here on this Monday rainy evening in Virginia. It is June 27th, 7:05. I know it's a little bit early. Normally we tap in at 7:30, but it's a very special night tonight. And quick announcement, you might see me a little bit earlier every week if this hour show works out right. So once again, it's Crystal Dominique here, coming from Virginia, talking to all my Philly viewers, Virginia viewers, and anyone across the world, wherever you're viewing from. Welcome to Sidebar Conversations with Crystal Dominique. Today I have a very special guest. I'm super excited. So for those who follow the seasons, we have recently hit our summer month, and the summer solstice passed not too long ago. And I've been following this young woman for some time now, Miss SideeQah Love, and she's just phenomenal in her craft and her spirit and her energy. And I wanted to bring her on the show tonight as we move into summer. And we're going to talk about how she celebrated the summer solstice. We're going to talk a little bit about her interest and knowledge in astrology. And we're going to talk about some astro compatibilities as well towards the end of the show. Yes, yes, yes. So hang tight, buckle up your seatbelts, and let's rock out for the next hour. SideeQah, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. So, like Crystal said, and before I even get into myself, thank you, Crystal, for having me. I really, really love your show because one, it feels grown AF. Like it really
I
feels
love
like
it.
a grown show because I watch a lot of different shows and I'm like, I know we're grown people, but are we talking about grown things? But the way that you handle your show, your topics, it's just very grown and sexy. Okay.
Hey, I like it. It's not as grown and sexy as that background you got going on right there. I'm like
Oh,
like your as I said before you came on, your energy, your aura is just so intoxicating, if you will, and alluring and peaceful and calm. And it shows right now in your environment. So tell
I'm
us a little
going
about
for
yourself.
it. Yes, so I'm SideeQah Love. Um, and there's a lot I feel like I could say about myself, but I'm gonna start with I'm a Virgo sun, Pisces rising,
Ooh,
Sagittarius moon.
love it.
I feel like I'm a very spiritual person, and I normally keep it pretty private to myself. But recently, I've been out there, sharing it and so forth. I try to be a calm force, but I'm a bit of a firecracker, so sometimes I do have a little bit of challenge and energy. I'm not gonna lie, but if everything was meant to be easy, then where would we really be, right? Um,
Mm,
yeah. So professionally, though, I don't have to give myself a title because I resigned from my job like 2 weeks ago,
let's
and
talk about it. Not right now. Continue, but we're
yes.
about to talk about that.
And granted myself some freedom to be who I am at my heart, which is a creator and a hustler too. So I'm definitely out there hustling, doing several things, freelancing, ride sharing, doing events or whatever. But I'm really focused in on my craft and I really love developing programs. I love throwing events and I love making like memorable experiences for people. So that's where my professional heart is and that's what
Mhm.
I'm out here doing. And yeah, privately I'm just me, like
Yes.
growing and learning and just creating peace for myself, however that looks.
Yes. So we're going to tap into some conversation with SideeQah around summer solstice, how she celebrated, and as she presented, she is a SideeQah Pisces
I'm a
sun,
Virgo sun,
Virgo sun,
a Pisces rising,
a Pisces rising. We're
and
gonna
yeah,
go
we're gonna
ahead,
break it down. And a Sagittarius moon.
and I
That's my
said
big
okay.
three.
We're
Yeah.
going to break it down, and because I need to talk about what this means. But because we oftentimes talk about the importance of financial literacy and
Hmm.
entrepreneurship, I just really wanted to ask if you can share with the audience, because you made a big move, as you've already alluded to. Real quickly, tell us what inspired your decision to leave your corporate job or your previous job and to follow your dreams and work more in your craft as a creator. Can you tell me what inspired
Yes.
that?
Yes, of course. Well, what inspired it first and foremost was the anxiety, right? I was having a lot of anxiety around that area, and I've learned that anxiety is just something that talks to you. And it's
Hmm.
just telling you something really loud, really painfully. And I had to figure out how to listen to it. And sometimes I wanted to do it my way, and the anxiety was like, no, that's not going to work. So before I came into the job, I was working for another corporate company just during COVID, because
Hmm.
before COVID, I was freelancing at that point,
Hmm.
happy. And um, when my contract ended with that first corporate entity, I had like a whole summer to myself. I was like freelancing, I was making my spiritual jewelry and selling it. I had my savings, and I was like just building towards my next step. And I had this call come from my old boss, the CEO of this esports company, and I thought, oh, this is a dream job. When you looked at the contract, it was great weekly pay, great commission. It was a department leadership position. And I get to do things that I love, like building cosplay events, working with families and kids, working with DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm like, oh, so this is all bottled up in one, and it's nerdy. Oh, this is a dream job. Oh, wait, and I get equity in the company. What? Like, huh? So at first, it was kind of moving like a dream job would, very challenging
Right.
and
Right.
so forth. But it seemed worth it because I believed in the vision. But eventually, the vision started feeling like a pipe dream, like a
Mm.
scam. And it's not a scam, it's a very legitimate and growing company. Um, but the dream job is just not there for me.
Wait,
So,
wait, wait. Talk about that a little bit because
mhm.
I think I'm following you. So the scam is it the process? Is it not
Yeah.
quite being who it is you want to be in this company and growing in your own craft? Like, what do you mean by it became a scam? So you
Yeah.
left.
So I should explain that, right? So I feel like it became a lot of emotional play. So a lot of promises that just weren't being fulfilled, right down to pay. You work, if I work, you pay. And there were times where, like with a startup, if monthly they're not hitting revenue, then sometimes you have to cut back. But normally you're not cutting back on employees' pay, you know what I mean? But since all of us there were contractors, or we were being paid business to business, depending on the setup, um, the CEO had fair game at choosing what to pay us, even if it went outside of our contract.
Okay.
And there's so much emotional play. Like, I care about you, I care about your career, I care about your dreams, and I want to make that come true.
Hmm.
Could you stick with me? Could you stick it out? Could you take a sacrifice for a month? Okay, for a month, sure. 6 months, I can no longer. Goodbye.
So tell us what you're doing now since you've left your comfort, full time job. It's a
Yeah,
big
look.
step. Tell us real quickly, what are you doing? And definitely like, shameless plug, give us your links, your websites where we can shop from
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Because you're now like I guess corporate worker, gone entrepreneur, and listen, we're all about that. So tell us what you're doing.
Yes. Okay, so first and foremost, I have been a business owner since 2013. I own a little organization called Cosplay Philadelphia, and since I have resigned, I have been secretly putting in a lot of work on the back end. I will be changing the name and everything.
I
But
like cosplay.
well, I'm gonna keep Cosplay Philadelphia. I'm gonna keep cosplay in the name, but I'm
Okay.
growing. I'm growing the business up. It needs to grow up a little bit, and I'm starting back up with the curated events that I did. And in the past, I got to work for some really cool companies like the Phillies, Philadelphia Orchestra, the Free Library of Philadelphia, and like so many more. So now that I'm free, I have the opportunity to do that again. And this past weekend, I got to do just a quick little cosplay gig at a convention where I judged the cosplay contest, and that was cool. It was like a quick 2 hours just judging cosplays and meeting new people, and it was cool to be able to like put my company back out there again now that I'm separate from the
So
other.
before we jump more into our discussion about summer solstice, and I know you're gonna tap into some astrology
Yes.
combo as well. Tell us what
Yeah.
cosplay is because I've been hearing that word and it's circulating. Like, what is cosplay?
So cosplay, and I'm gonna say it from with my definition. Cosplay, which the word comes from costume play. Cosplay to me is just embodying some aspect of your favorite character or a character from pop media, any pop culture media. So for me, it's anime and like video games, and I love to cosplay these characters. Um, that either I like the way they look or I like their personality. I think I see something in them that I also see in myself, and I love to embody that character. Um, but really, it's an escape. It's a way to make friends. It's a way to build confidence, um, all through dressing up like a character that you may love or even hate from your favorite show or game or whatever.
It's like a whole world,
It
and I,
is.
I sometimes feel like I'm not allowed, but I see like the gaming conventions. You have like Comic-Con. Now I'm here in cosplay, so definitely exciting environment. Next time you come on, we'll have to bring some pics. I should have come prepared because I've watched you and your character development, and I love it. I
Oh,
love it.
yeah.
And I think where we're going with the metaverse, to be honest, I'm more intrigued than ever to really tap in with. I think you said this word, not I. The nerdy environment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
of gaming, cosplay, because I feel like that, that's where we're headed anyway. But
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
exactly. Yeah. And professionally, though, really, I'm just trying to grow myself as a freelancer with development. Like, I've done consultant work before, and really, that's what I'm out there. If it's an event or if it's program development, if it's grant writing,
Mhm.
like, hello,
I
I'm
love it.
here.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. We're going to have to talk after the show. About that some more as well.
We got
So
so much that we could talk about, Crystal.
we
Like,
could talk
so
for
many things
days.
align. That's why we're both going to Invest Fest.
Hey, we're gonna get into some Invest Fest. Yes, y'all hear that? So SideeQah is also an earner. She, for those who are fans and followers of the show, you know how much I speak to the Earn Your Leisure group, and Invest Fest is August 5th. It is approaching quickly, and SideeQah and I, we have matched for several reasons. Man, this is my soul sister, if you will. We are spirit animals, if you will, and
Okay.
also we are aligned with our interest in investing in finance. And you told me a very, very great story about your decision with you and your mother's um, home. And do you mind talking about that?
Yeah, so basically, when I was like somewhere in my mid 20s, and my mom and I were talking just about how life was going, and she was like, let's make an agreement to live together and pay these bills and grow and save until a certain age, which was like 50, 30 for us at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and instead of you going out there and spending all of this money separately, like you can still have the same freedoms and so forth and really save together in the home. So it really grew from like a mother daughter relationship into like mother daughter partners, mother daughter working together, like to really build ourselves. And so, like, we struggled together, we went together, like it instead of it
Mm,
being like, oh, only mom takes care of things, or even some people deal with the reverse where it's like their parent depends on them for everything. Like here I try to figure out ways of like how can I support my mom or how can I make life easier for her even though she can do it all on her own. So really it helped me come into my adulthood and like take responsibility and see in 4K where am I feeling as an adult.
mhm,
Because I
mhm.
had this agreement to uphold, and I it was no longer like you're just the daughter, you're fine. Like no, now I'm a full blown adult, and I'm in partnership with someone that I got to do this for real.
And what stands out, and I won't spend too much time here, but what stands out for me is we talk offline about the importance of investing and growing generational wealth, right? Um, you don't have to spend a dime in the stock market to make a business decision to be to make your family unit work as one to help
Hmm.
you build generational wealth. So you made a very tough decision to stay with your mother, live in the home. You and her both share this home. Obviously, there's ownership for the both of you. But one thing that stuck out for me that I always like admired when I heard that story is you just a lot of folks do this, but not everyone can do this in our community. We're
Hmm.
staying at home, building this family unit with your mother until you're at a point and she's at a point where it makes more sense to
Hmm.
separate. That's a part of building generational wealth. But go ahead if you want to share some
Yes,
more with that.
listen, we can we can spend a whole show on ways of like how but yeah, and Just lastly, just to speak professionally, one of the things I have done recently was become con director of Head Nurse in Charge Convention. So that just passed on Juneteenth weekend, and we're already planning for 2023, which will be Father's Day weekend in 2023, but not on Father's Day. So that's a really big endeavor working with venues and hotels and handling all of these people. So I look forward to, again, having a great con next year. So that's it on me
Awesome,
professionally.
awesome. Thanks for telling us a lot. This woman right here, she has so much more to bring to the table. So you'll be back again. Listen, we initially talked about this show because I'm super excited to hear how
Hmm.
you celebrated the
Yes.
summer solstice. Tell the people why it's important to celebrate the summer solstice, what it means, when we
Hmm.
hit this first day of summer, this first day of spring, what does that mean other than us just knowing, it's the first day of
Yeah.
summer?
And even outside of knowing that it is like the longest day of the year where we have the most amount of sun, um, but the summer solstice is really just like, and I'm gonna just go for my interpretation. I'm not even gonna give you textbook, but for my interpretation, it's like going into celebration of everything that brings us into action. When you think about summer, you think about the sun. The sun is literally like our source of energy. So when you think about summer, things are literally heating up. They're moving. So with the summer solstice, you want to prepare yourself to get moving. Um, there is like a seasonal way that humans are like supposed to be living. Like, when do we plant seeds? When do we harvest? When do we rest? Summertime is that time when we're working, we're moving, we're building, we're connecting. Like, everything is
Yeah,
shaking up and moving.
yeah.
So the summer solstice is opening up your heart and literally receiving that energy from the sun, celebrating that the warmth is here, action is here, and being thankful for it, and
Hmm.
going into gratitude about that, um, and preparing yourself for the next day to literally get into action, get into gear.
So, what did you do to celebrate the summer solstice?
Right? So the
For us
summer.
for us, the other earthly people in the world that love this kind of stuff.
Hmm. So we spent the whole day. I spent it with my mother and my younger cousin. And my younger cousin is experiencing some challenges in life that is similar to what I experienced at her same age. She's 19. So we were like, come with us. She's super spiritual, and she's learning, and she has her own journey. And what we did was, one, we talked. We talked about our beliefs, and we shared, we divulged, and like that's another thing about springing into action. You need to release. You need to give. So that's how we gave. And we shared crystals and our spiritual tools, and we gifted her like a lot of those things, and um, we prepared those things for ourselves as well, and surrounded ourselves in all of these spiritual tools and whatever
Mhm.
would bring up our vibrations.
So
So.
what you're
Mhm.
talking about is somewhat of a ritual, right?
Mhm.
But some folks, might do it. For me, like a new moon is approaching tomorrow, the 28th. We have a new moon. For me, I love to journal and go within and plant the seed of action for the full moon, right?
Mhm.
I'll burn my candles, I'll set my altar, I'll say my prayer, and I'll write my intention. So what you're talking about is some form of ritual that you've done to bring in and welcome the summer, right?
Exactly. And so for me this time, I was really intentional about it, which was, one, just not giving myself so much of a like strict ritual um process this day, but really be in the moment. And that was intentional. So we
Hmm.
literally kind of sat in like a three-person circle,
Where
and
did you go? Like,
we
was you in the
so
park?
we stayed here where I live because we have a river and like an overlook into the river. We have all this grassy area, so we actually went out to the river, and we just were breathing in the fresh air. We took a walk, like we just stimulated our bodies and our minds through all of that. That was just the first part. It was just living the day, celebrating the sun, allowing the sun to energize us, and it's intentional. Like, it's something simple you do any day, but we were like, intentionally, we are going to buy new spiritual tools, to prepare for the summer. We're going to be surrounded by our tools and share with each other. We're going to go outside. We're going to get in this sun. We're going to soak it up. Um, and then we learned. So we took time out to learn about some metaphysical practices and concepts. And then after we took my cousin home, began the personal individual ritual.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
You
I,
said something. Oh, go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no,
Go ahead.
you go because I'm moving into another stage of things.
I
So
was
yeah,
going to say, you said something. So you went into your own metaphysical practice. I want to touch on before we go today astrology.
yes.
It's my favorite topic, and I know your SideeQah recommended a great book that I haven't quite finished yet, SideeQah, but
Oh
I have
yeah, that,
started it. I ordered it
yeah.
and I started it. It's the only astrology book you'll ever need.
Okay.
I want you to talk to me a little bit about how you use any, like all your prayers, your rituals, even the science of astrology to really help you healing your process, get through your days, whatever you want to share, right?
Yeah.
Understand your lovers, understand your friends. How do
Yes.
you use that science in your daily practice to just make
Mm-hmm.
sense of things? Talk about that for me.
Yeah, and I can even use the rest of my individual summer solstice um practice to even talk about that because the summer solstice happened right around the ending of like that full moon energy because summer solstice was like the 21st and the full
Hmm.
moon was days prior, but
Yeah,
we're
it's like the 15th,
coming,
14th, or something
yeah,
like that.
so
Hmm.
5 days after the full moon, you're like really coming out of that period and you're in that in between state. So for me, that's a time of cleansing. I know people love to cleanse for the new moon, but I like to kind of cleanse to prepare for the new moon. And I know
Hmm.
that the full moon people may cleanse or whatever or charge up, but there's so much emotional energy around that I was like, I gotta sage the whole house. So I got my big sage and I saged the whole house. But it was the prayer that I said during the sage, which included statements like, please cleanse my home of any energies, of course, that does not serve me, while also keeping safe the members of this home. Like
Hmm.
that is
Hmm.
such, you have to be really intentional because you don't want to cleanse the member living in the home out the home. You want to cleanse the energies that isn't serving the members.
Mm.
So you're not only asking for the cleansing energy, but you're also asking for protection for the members in the home from that cleansing energy.
Yeah,
And then not only am I asking for you to cleanse the energy, but it's any ill thoughts, any ill concepts and beliefs that I'm holding on to, any beliefs or energies that's around from before I even entered this place, or things that may have come in uninvited.
absolutely.
Um,
A common
so,
prayer around the full moon for me is, and this, I mean, a lot of people use this, is um, I wish to release all things that no longer serve me.
mhm. It's really the best because and I was going to talk about this at some point when it came to astrology if we had time, but I love the word serve because when you think of being in service, people often like incorrectly define that as being selfless to something. But it's like being in service is just an intended action for something. Being selfless is a totally different thing. So
Mm,
when something is in service to you, it's an intended action for you and only you, right?
mm,
So
mm,
if it doesn't serve me, like, yes, please cleanse it because obviously it's not intended for me if it doesn't serve me. It wasn't created, thought of, or meant to benefit me or teach me a lesson in any way. So it can't be a distraction. It has got to go. So like the word serve or the word service is like to me such a great intentional word to use when cleansing because of the very meaning of the word.
Deep, 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 deep stuff. What does like conversations like this and your spiritual practice? What does this mean for you? Like, how does this get you? Like, how does this make your life better? How does it improve your life, or how does it bring you closer to? Um, I don't know, just aligning and grounding yourself.
Hmm.
Talk a little bit about that because some folks don't really understand what we're talking about, and I want to make sure we address that.
Yes. Okay. So studying and learning outside of my physical experience, like what I see, what I've been taught, and moving into the metaphysical, it doesn't just answer questions for you that you couldn't maybe answer with the immediate physical things, but it raises new questions. And while you're learning how to ask new questions, you're also learning how to become at peace with not finding the answer, how to become at peace with things being okay and not okay at the same time, and truly understanding that nothing is good or bad, nothing is permanent or perfect. Um, and like truly like accepting that. And it's just a different kind of peace,
Mm,
because there's a peace you feel when you're happy and like
mm,
everything's going right for you. But then why does your peace have to leave you when you're like falling into the pits of hell? When your life is in shambles, why can't you have peace then? Like having this
mm,
metaphysical practice and learning more about all of these concepts that is beyond being human, but everything about being human, like is teaching me every day how to be at peace even
mm.
when I'm like in suffering.
It's funny you should say that. I was having this conversation with a friend last night who was really bothered about something that's going on, in their life. And we talked about something that I hear from a mentor of mine: focus on what you can control. In any situation in life, you have to focus on what you can control. And what I find in like meditation and my own spiritual practice through meditation, that practice actually puts me in the mindset to calm,
Hmm.
find peace, and focus on what I can control. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
And
Like,
sometimes you can't even control the thoughts that are coming through. So it's like be okay with the fact that you can't control your own fleeting thoughts.
yes, yes,
Like it's like be like a, I forgot, this is one thing, is like you're just be and let things like drive in and out of you. You're just sort of like a
yes,
vessel or a tunnel that things come in and come out of. Like
yes,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
And it's okay with, and it teaches me it's okay to not be perfect. Like there, and it can not be easy for other people to deal with when you're really okay with the fact that like, yo, I make mistakes, like I f up, and I'm really okay with that. Like
Yes, and
yeah.
it's having something to go to bring you back
Hmm.
and get you through it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I love it. Anything else you want to share there?
I do, because I wanted to answer another part of astrology and how you can use it. Is I was, when we were talking about this earlier, I wanted to kind of simplify how I was explaining like the basics of astrology. So no matter what type of astrology you
Okay,
study, which I feel like you should try to study like more than one, so you can find what really sits with you. So for
okay.
me, traditional astrology really sits deep in me. I love it. Um, and you don't have to use it as this premonition or a destiny, but really just use it as a reminder and as advice. Like, I truly believe that all is one. Like, we're all one. And I don't mean like one with people, but like the Jupiter and the galaxy beyond, it's all one thing, right? And we're all affected by that,
Yeah,
right?
by the
So
pool.
there's no way that
Hmm.
astrology can't affect us, because it's literally a part of us. So I use it as a reminder or just as advice or guidance, or to see something from another perspective.
Hmm. Hmm.
And one thing that you know that causes like human suffering is the inability to not see it another way. To be stuck in a one track mind causes suffering.
Hmm. Hmm.
To think that it's only one way causes suffering, because you're going to see a thousand other things that doesn't look like what you think it should. You're
Hmm.
going to get mad. If you go and
Hmm.
read your, like, the astrology of the day, it's going to give you all these different concepts to look out for. And now you know, like, oh, I I was expecting to possibly see that. It
Hmm.
helps you to like accept it a little bit more that
Process.
things are different.
Yeah. Well, since you brought that up, I want to say because I study and I read and one of
Hmm.
my biggest, I would say, I'm kind of judgy on like astrology of the day. I'm really judgy
Okay.
because the more that you research, the more you know it's way more than just the sun sign conversation. It's way more than just this like very like thin layer of icing over the cake. It's like
Okay.
it's a thick iced up cake. We're talking about a triple, quadruple layered cake, right? All the way deep down, there's like chocolate all throughout, strawberries all throughout. Excuse my dramatic explanation, but
It's the
astrology of the
truth.
day, for example, or just reading in the newspaper about your sun sign, it triggers me because I know it's deeper than that. And
Yeah.
it sometimes gives a bad name to it because then you have folks who are just like, well, that's not me at all. Because the reality of it, it's not you. And when
Mm.
you talk about astrology, it's so much bigger than just one zodiac sign. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, yeah. The your forecast for the day is not you. The
Yeah.
forecast for the day is the energy in the
Okay.
air.
Okay.
Astrology is like the telling. Well, one of its definitions can be the telling of the energy, whether it's the energy when you were born or it's the energy of the day,
Okay.
and how that energy may possibly affect you when you compare it to your disposition.
Okay.
And then when you think about like, so what's your sun sign, Crystal?
I'm a Scorpio.
Okay, so you're a Scorpio. There's a lot I can say about
Scorpio sun,
Scorpios.
Libra
And
rising.
ooh, that is like that's very that's very romantic. And it's
I'm a
very
romantic girl.
yeah, and I don't even want to say sexy because I honestly don't like to
Yeah.
connect sex and Scorpio because honestly it's
Oh,
Scorpio's way more about
it's so
connection
worn
than they
out.
are about
Thank
sex.
you.
Yeah, if you want to
Thank
get into
you.
sex, maybe you look at Taurus or you can even look at Libra.
Yeah.
you look
Thank
at
you for
Leo.
saying that. Every time I tell someone a Scorpio, it automatically goes there. So I really appreciate you because you get it. You understand it's not that. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
it's
ahead.
definitely more about um, connection. And so, like, a lot of Scorpios are deeply misunderstood, right? And it's not misunderstood in a way of like, oh, they're the bad guy, but they're really the good guy. No, deeply misunderstood in the sense of like they have depth that people think they don't have. Or maybe a person may come off as like very intellectual when really they're way more feeling. But people will like determine a Scorpio and never change their mind about a Scorpio more than most signs. They'll look at an Aquarius and be willing to accept the change of an Aquarius, right? But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to a Scorpio changing, it's like, oh, she different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But she's still
Facts.
that. She's still that from
Facts.
round the way.
Facts.
You
It's
know,
weird. It's weird. Thank you.
but it's like if a Scorpio looks at their forecast for the day and it's like, oh, this doesn't really vibe with me, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe they may need to look at their moon sign for the day because
I'm
maybe, yeah,
sorry.
no,
I was
you're
excited
good.
to answer. I was excited to
No,
tell
yeah,
you
go ahead.
my moon's in Pisces. So it's in Cancer. Wait, hold on. Keep going. I gotta look that up
It's
again.
okay. Their energies are similar anyway, right?
It is. It is. It is. It is.
um, And if the moon isn't vibing, then go look at your rising because honestly, it just depends on what's really powerful right now. Like sometimes the moon energy is overpowering. And I even say for myself, like I'm a Virgo and people misunderstand Virgo in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to Virgo, and I like to say a matured Virgo, someone who has matured into their Virgo sun energy, has a set amount of things that they feel that they're good at, right? And they just allow the rest of their chart to go explore. So when a Virgo looks at their forecast, oh, that's not for me. Some other part of my chart is overpowered. Like Virgo will leave it in the hands, a mature Virgo will leave it in the hands of the moon sign, its Venus sign to go do that work, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
So when you look at the forecast for the day, don't think that it just applies to who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Look at it as this is the energy of the day. Actually, I actually sometimes like to read the forecast at the end of the day if I'm being risky to see what I think about the day and then compare it to the forecast.
The forecast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking. So what do you read? Do you read like something from? a website? What do you, when you say the
Yeah.
forecast, what are you reading?
So I like Astro Theme. I do like Co-Star. I love to watch different videos, so I listen to podcasts
Hmm.
like Channy, which is on Spotify. I love listening to like Bahati Life on
Hmm.
YouTube.
Hmm.
So I listen to a lot of stuff all the time. And I have the Channy app too. So I'm probably reading on a good day 3 to 4 different forecasts for myself.
Okay, okay, that makes
Um,
sense. That
because
makes
I
sense.
just be in my car listening to it.
I wanted to go back to something that you said a couple times, and you talked
Hmm.
about a mature Virgo.
Hmm.
You said the word mature. I say this. I think I read it once, and it's just been sticking with me. When I talk to folks about their sun sign or any influence in their chart,
Yeah.
it's very important for us to understand that we have to move away from making restricting persons to one behavior, because
Hmm.
depending on how evolved someone is, as you use the word mature, I love to use the word frequencies. If you're a higher vibrating individual in general versus
Hmm.
a low vibrating individual, you might actually have more of those traits that, again, Scorpios, they say that we're like jealous, we're mean, we're mean, right?
Or
We
destructive, or
destructive.
yeah.
So you might see that heavily in a low vibrating Scorpio, absolutely. But then you have some high vibrating ones that have actually done the work. Like
Hmm.
anyone of any sign might have to do the work, to where you might see more of the influence
Yeah.
um from other signs within their chart. And that's for any sign, right?
Exactly. That's for any individual.
Yeah.
And if not the word mature, because I love to use the word mature because it's like
Yeah.
you're maturing into something. But I love the word evolved as well, because people don't know, but you aren't born your sun sign.
No.
Like, you actually grow into your sun sign. Your sun sign energy literally matures in your life as you get older. So when you were younger, you could have been. I know when I was younger, I was much more my Sagittarius moon than I was my Virgo sun.
Let's pause right there. I'm actually going to bring in a comment if you don't mind, because I
Of
love what Chaz
course.
R just said, and I think we're going to talk about this.
Hmm.
Chaz R from YouTube says, I take most zodiac sign stuff with a grain of salt, since I'm unsure on how when you were born has actual agency on how to act beyond how one is and continues to be socialized. Beautifully written, very articulate response. I love it.
Yes.
SideeQah, do you want to
Yeah.
talk to that? Okay. Okay.
And very easily, and I kind of hinted at it earlier, but a natal chart, which determines your signs, is literally just telling you what the energies were when you were born. And astrology is saying that these energies sit deep in your being, the makeup of your being, the emotional, the metaphysical, the physical being, all holds that energy as you mature throughout life. So, as the energy matures, it also changes. So, no, you don't really have this set disposition
Hmm.
because of your natal chart.
Hmm.
If anything, it's giving you some insight into how your process of life may be challenging or may
Mm.
be easier.
Can I add to that? It's your natural state. It's where you're the most comfortable. So let's say we read up on Virgo.
Facts.
Virgo is said to be logical, right? Like a earth sign, right? Not as emotional. I dated a gentleman, and I wrote his chart, and he had Virgo everywhere in his chart. I'm
Oh
talking about his
my
moon,
god.
his
Oh
sun,
god.
his rising. He was
Mm.
like full of Virgo, and I think he had like some fire sign, right? And I'm a very emotional Scorpio, and when I tell you, that is where
Oh
I
my
was
god.
drained the most in that relationship. I did not get enough emotion, because here I am with this person that has, in their natural state, they are very earthy, logical. That's the best way to
Yes.
put it. So I'm not saying that all Virgos are going to be like that, but to
Right.
Chad's point, I think the deeper that we go into, the more your understanding is, it's not that you are this one way. It's just in your natural state, you're more comfortable to act in this way. And that's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times what those sign characteristics describe. It's who you are in your most natural state. And it also represents where you might have to adapt yourself when you're dealing with someone who has an opposing characteristic. Hopefully that helps too as
Yes.
well. What do you think, Sidiqa?
No, you hit it right on the head. I know in my chart, if we ever got into the houses one day, the placements in my ninth house pretty much express, and some of the transits in my chart express that I'll experience challenges in my professional life and when it comes to even building and holding long term friendships. These are two things that I have had the most challenges with, and they kind of go hand in hand. And I didn't learn that at 5 years old. I didn't
Right,
learn that
right,
at
right.
12. You know what I mean? Like, I had these experiences throughout my adult life before even truly understanding my ninth house placement or my 12th
Right.
house placement.
I don't know all that. You way ahead of me. I'm still in second grade with this Topeka, so you went somewhere else with that. But we're gonna have to talk deeper because I would love to learn more about the houses. Because I've gone as deep as just understanding how to write a chart. But to your point, it's layers to this, man. It's so much deeper,
Yes.
and it's psychology, if you will.
It's a journey, and like honestly, you can stay as long as you want at that point of your journey. I stayed with the big three for most of my 20s, and then I was like, okay, I'm coming up on my Saturn return. I'm thinking
When you
about
say the big
love,
three, explain. You mean like your sun,
moon, and rising.
your
Hmm.
sun, your
Your
moon, your
and your
rising. Okay,
rising.
okay.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time thinking about the big three. I did explore other things like my Mercury. I did explore my Venus. Um, but when I like knew I was coming up on 30, I was like, I need to learn my transits and my house placements because my
Yeah,
life is starting to get more complex and I'm starting to build more.
yeah.
So I opened up my astrological journey.
I love it. So I looked mine up because I couldn't remember if I'm a sun in Scorpio. Obviously, my moon is in Pisces. My Mercury's in Scorpio,
Hmm.
and my Venus is in Sag. My Mars is in Cap. A lot's
Ooh.
going on with me, right? I'm complicated.
It's lovely. Like honestly, you said your Venus is in Sag.
My Venus is in Sag,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sagittarius. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
What that mean?
I feel no, I for me, I feel like you have a lot of synergy in your chart,
Lot of it.
honestly. And for someone looking from the outside, like you could be someone very easy to get along with, right? But then some people are scared of easy. So for you, I feel like it would be easier for you to find a tribe that really understands you and
Mm.
be of a tribe, but also be very individualistic, like in love. And what was Capricorn for you?
Capricorn is my Mars is
Mm.
Capricorn.
Mm-hmm. So I
What?
think that
What?
goes to
What was
show
that?
like why you're an investor, why you're ambitious in a way, because like you have such a hardcore sign and a hardcore planet placement. Mars
Right.
is fiery, like it's the
It's
red
fine.
planet, obviously all about action. It's sex, it's aggression, it's it's the sun, it's the sun's baby, like 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 it's
Yeah.
very masculine energy. It's all
Story of my
that.
life, girl. Story of my
So to
story of
have
my life. And
Cap.
from my Mercury to be in Scorp too, it's actually challenging because Scorpio is my sun. However, I personally feel like my Mercury being in Scorp, I show a lot more. Even though my rising is different, I show a lot more in my communication.
Hmm.
It's very Scorpio traits, if you will, that can be a bit much for people with
But
that
the thing is,
side.
that's very Scorpio like because Scorpio is a sign that is looking for a connection,
Hmm.
and it's funny because it's like I like to take every aspect. Like the Scorpion, I know the Scorpion stings because it's trying to protect itself, but the
Yes.
only way for it to sting is to connect with you.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to connect with the Scorpio to either benefit from a Scorpio or to be damaged by one. Scorpio is always seeking connection. So, like,
Mm.
and the thing about your Mercury is that your Mercury will always be the same sign as your sun or one sign away because Mercury
Oh.
is right next to the sun.
I didn't know that. That was okay. Thank you
And
for sharing that.
Your Venus will always be like one sign away. or
So
the
we have
same.
someone in the chat. I don't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off there, but we do
yeah.
have someone in the chat who I guess they just dropped their
It is
birthday.
some. Okay, I mean, okay. You telling me about March 27th? What's
We
your
need a
birthday
little
on
bit
March
more. What
27th?
time? What city and state? We need a little bit more. But D.
Like,
Darren is letting us know that he's born March 27th. What can we
yeah.
say about him?
Well, you're March Aries, and you're born within that first deacon, which is so different. So it makes you more of a true Aries because um your ruling planet, which I believe is the sun for Aries, um, you have like when you're in the first deacon, you're fully ruled by your ruling planet. So it's like you're the true version of an Aries, right?
Mhm.
Where somebody born like later in April that's an Aries, they're a mixed Aries, you know, they don't have the full embodiment of it. So I can tell you that at least at the core, I mean, it's a very masculine core. Um, I can say that it's very like I don't like to say that it's about action, but maybe you need to be doing something or maybe you need to be seeing something for something to click for you to feel
Mhm.
connected to something at your core.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but I would say with any pure Aries is to I don't know what your Venus or your Mercury is, but to like always put that extra energy into like the emotional side.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
have to balance such a fiery masculine core
Mhm.
with honestly a more effeminate outside.
Mm. That's deep. We should talk about that on another show. But a lot of folks, this goes back to the original comment from Chaz R, right? A lot of folks don't understand that sometimes the characteristics, a lot of times, the characteristics that we hear and read about and study in these signs actually teach you what you need more of, what
Mm-hmm.
you need more. So if you're strong in this area, it doesn't mean that you're only this person. It means for balance, you might need more of this. But we need a whole other show for that one. I don't want to leave the show without talking about our fun
Yes.
activity because SideeQah and I are also. She is a fellow Earn Your Leisure follower, and she said, "Crystal, we have to be done by 8 o'clock. Why do we have to be done by 8 o'clock?"
Because
SideeQah.
Market Mondays.
Sadiqa was like, Market Mondays at 8, Chris, so we got to get this done. I love it. I love it. I love it. And before we close out for Market Mondays, we're going to talk about InvestFest as well because Sadiqa had to, hit me up and gave me some news about InvestFest, and I want you to announce it here on the show. Um, but before we do that, let's play a little game. We
Okay,
have an
okay, okay.
activity.
Yes.
I asked Sadiqa if she could do a compatibility evaluation of
Oh my
my favorite
gosh.
couple and popular couple. You have Big Sean and Janae
Yes.
Aiko.
Yes.
Let's talk
Okay.
about it.
Okay, so if I'm looking down, it's because I have my iPad, y'all. So let's get into their sons, right? The core of who they are when they're most comfortable. Oh, you are welcome. I hope that it helped. It was very vague, but I hope that it helped.
Yeah, tell them we need the time of birth and the place of birth for a little bit more details. But that was
Yeah.
pretty great,
At least your
Sadiqa.
place of birth would give me a couple of things. Um, okay. So let's first go into their sun signs.
Okay.
So we have Big Sean, who is an Aries, right? And then we have Janae Aiko, and she's a Pisces.
Okay.
And it's just at the core, you wouldn't think that this would be smooth at all. With her being that Pisces core, there's a lot of capacity to fill up. Like we're all born with buckets of capacity, right? And some have smaller buckets than others. Janae has a well that needs to be filled, right?
Mm,
And
okay.
Big Sean is born with everyone's born with a certain amount of output, right? The hose, let's call it. Some people have hoses that have like very like weak water pressure, and then some people have like really like
A
high
burst.
pressure. Yeah, it's a
Yeah. They're
Big
missing. They're
Sean had.
missing the end. The end. It's just an open hole. It's just. I'm just. Go ahead. He's ready to
Big
pour.
Sean is like a fire hose. You know,
Okay.
he has a
Oh.
lot to output.
And what is
Just
that? Is it because he's an Aries?
just
Or
at the core because
okay.
he's an Aries, because of the house, which is in house 4. I don't even want to get into the houses,
Okay.
but it's
Okay.
because I'm looking at where the houses, and I'm looking at their sun signs immediately. I also want to get into their Venus and Mars before I go into how compatible this couple is. Okay, so for Big Sean, his Venus is in Taurus.
Mm,
Very lovely
very
Venus,
sexual
very
creature.
sexual, very committed, very romantic. It's
Okay.
not as cliche romance as like a Leo, like Venus, or even an Aries Venus. A Taurus Venus is just it's very romantic, but it's without the rose tinted glasses. It's romantic in real life. Like
Mm,
like I have this. My heart literally is in your hands, and here are practical ways for you to retain it. Type
okay.
of romance. And then for Janae, for Janae, it's also in Taurus.
Her Venus is in Taurus.
So your Venus is not
Oh,
only how you love, but it's how you give. It's even a
right.
little bit of how you spend your money, depending on if you're buying something for yourself or for others. It's not money like how Mercury or Mars is with money, but it's money when it comes to giving. And the
So
fact
they're
that
both Venus in
yeah,
Taurus.
exactly.
Oh, this is a love fest.
But the difference is that they have what makes them compatible is that um, Venus is falling in different like houses for them. So,
Hmm.
well, no, Taurus is falling in different houses for them. So for Janae, I believe it's in house 5, and then for Big Sean, it's in house 2. All right, one more thing I'm going to get into, and that's Mars. So for Big Sean, his Mars is in Capricorn.
And Mars is typically how you fight, right? How you move, how you act, right?
Yes,
It's your
literally.
forceful energy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead. So,
Exactly. It's aggression, and it's also sex,
mhm,
procreation, and in a way, it's a certain part of creativity. Like
okay.
it's how you create something. Um,
So his is in Capricorn, and her
yes.
Mars is
Okay, one second. And her Mars, I just want to make sure I'm correct here because they have so many things in common. Okay, I'm. And her Mars is also in Capricorn, but their
really
houses again are different. So she
okay.
has Capricorn in house 2, and he has Capricorn in house 10. And so I keep mentioning these houses because wherever the sign falls in a certain house shows where area of your life it's amplified, right? So if it falls into the house of friends, and you're like a Capricorn in the house of friends, then you're really adamant about friendship and it being a certain way, right? um and then for you to have Mars to back that up, oh my god.
Mhm. Gosh.
Oh
So Valerie just dropped in the chat and let us know Market Mondays will have Steve Harvey
yes.
on the show today. Super excited.
Oh my
And
god, we got two
Sadika,
minutes
I hate to pause you there.
we
You're
got
gonna come
two
back.
minutes
You got
Yes.
2 minutes. I'm gonna listen. Let me share this with you guys. Sadika, while I'm sharing my screen, tell me what you share. Tell the team, everybody in the audience, what you shared with
Yes.
me about InvestFest. Go ahead before we drop.
Okay, girl, what did I share with you about? Oh, I done dropped
That
my
you're
thing.
going.
Oh yeah, that we're going. First of all, we're going. And
We're going to InvestFest.
who do you think is gonna be besides Ti? Because they did mention Ti as a special
Yeah.
guest. Who do
Yeah.
you think is gonna be the other special guest? I think LeBron James.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm just waiting it all because I can't even guess at this point. I think it's gonna be a big deal, but it could be anybody at this point. I'm hoping it's Jay-Z.
That's what I was hoping for Jay
So
Z, but I'm feeling like it might be LeBron. He hit
yes,
billionaire status. They have LeBron like in their little
for those who don't
video.
know, Earn Your Leisure. It's Earn Your Leisure, an amazing group here. They're talking about money, business, finances, wealth, for melanated people, and not just for melanated people, but it's obviously a group with shows and podcasts hosted by folks who look like us, talking about how do we maintain and earn generational wealth, right? InvestFest,
Yes.
August 5th through August 7th in ATL. This is the last one that I should that showed, but TI is the newest announcement for this lineup. You got Steve Harvey, Rick Ross, Charlamagne the God, Earn Your Leisure, Wall Street Trapper, 19 Keys, the man with I
I'm
love me some
excited
19
to see
Keys.
19 Keys.
I'm excited to see 19
First of all,
Keys.
I'm excited to see Ian.
I'm
I'm just
excited.
going.
Last year, I sat in the third row on the right hand side, and he
Mm.
came off the stage and sat third row in the middle. And I was like, "Oh, he just gonna sit right next to me like
Oh
that,
my
right?"
God. You
So
already
I just
know.
can't
Like,
wait. You're going to be side by side with some of these great thought leaders in the game right now, and it's just really a blessing to be in the room and earn and have a seat at the table where we can talk and plan and execute with action. How are we building generational wealth for our family? So I want to shout this out, guys. If you don't have your tickets, go to investfest.com. Hop over to Market Mondays. If you are dropping from this call, make sure you go to Market Mondays on YouTube. It's Earn Your Leisure Market Mondays. SideeQah and I, we're going to be in the building August 5th through the 7th in ATL for Invest Fest. Are y'all coming?
yes.
Are y'all coming? I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. It's your girl, Crystal D. I'm going to have SideeQah Love back again because we have so much more to dive into.
Oh
SideeQah, are
my
you coming
gosh,
back?
right? I'm coming back.
Are we coming back?
Listen.
Okay, good. We got to figure out another show and some more to dive into. Let us know in the chat if you have any additional questions on anything SideeQah talked about tonight, anything around Earn Your Leisure or Invest Fest, and anything around astrology, the summer solstice. Drop your comments in the chat. I will read them after the show. Please do tell us what you would like to hear us talk about next week as well. Once again, it's Crystal D. SideeQah, tell them where they can find you.
Yes. So you guys can find me at SideeQah Love anywhere on the internet. That's all of my handles is SideeQah Love. Once you find
Yeah,
my handle, you will find every place that you can follow
yes.
me, whether it's Cosplay Philadelphia or what have you.
Yes. It's Crystal Dominique. You can find me at My Thoughts Could Be a Blog. That's Twitter, that's
Yes.
Instagram. You can also find me on Twitch, Crystal D. I got to get my Twitch
Yes.
popping, y'all. I got to get it going. You're going to have to help me with that one.
See, I'm good at it, but I don't do it for myself, right? I can do it for other people, though.
And if you're not following me on Instagram or anywhere else, definitely follow me here on Sidebar Conversations every Monday now at 7 o'clock. Catch me next Monday at 7:05 to be exact, though. You know, we like to make an interest. All right. Have a good day. We are hopping over to Market Mondays. Thanks for joining everybody and be safe. And listen, peace and love always.
Yes. Have a good one. Yeah. Bye.
I need some